ICOM Talk, broadcasted from the Netherlands, or really from Zagreb today, really. My name is Femke Heitema. I am part of the ICOM Netherlands board and also director of the museum in Gouda in the Netherlands. This talk we're having today is offered to you by the ICOM Netherlands Foundation. It's being recorded and will be published on the ICOM Netherlands website within a few days. Do remember to follow us on social media and stay informed about all the upcoming activities as well. And if you have any tips for speakers or international colleagues or great projects, do let us know at communicatie@icom.nl. Because what we try to do as ICOM Netherlands is inspire our Dutch colleagues with international stories, with best practices, worst practices, experiences from all over the world. From people who work in museums like we do. And today we're joined by three guests from Zagreb, Croatia. With us are Gordana Viljetic from the Ethnographic Museum. She is senior curator and head of collections of textiles, tools and linen at the Ethnographic Museum. And has been interested in the subject we're dealing with today for years. We're also joined by her director, Dr. Zvjezdana Antos, also of the Ethnographic Museum in Zagreb, and she conducts research on and writes about the use of new technologies in museums, contemporary collecting, urban and visual anthropology, and participatory collecting. And then our final guest is Dr. Suzana Marjanic from the Institute of Ethnology and Folklore Research, also in Zagreb, where she focuses on theories of myth and ritual, cultural and critical animal studies and performance studies. So what we're dealing with today is pet culture. And it's a funny thing because it is such an important part of society, and at the same time, the significance and potential of pet culture are not always as visible in museums, where, after all, we do try to shed light on society from as many perspectives as possible. My museum as well, I don't think there's anything in the museum that has to do with pets. And this might have something to do with the fact that, and I'm ashamed to admit it, but I do not have any pets. I have 2 kids, and that's quite enough. But of course, it is part of everyday life for so many people. And it's an interesting question. How could we give this a place in the museum, and how would we do that? In terms of collecting, of exhibitions, of programming. Well, these 3 museum colleagues from Zagreb are here this afternoon to spark our imagination. The Ethnographic Museum in Zagreb was the first pet-friendly museum in Croatia 10 years ago. So here's a museum who has a decade of experience, and we're really looking forward to hear all about it. If you do have any questions, do put them in the chat and we'll put them to our speakers at the end of the talk in about an hour. I'll give the floor to Gordana, who will take us on a journey through her process of documenting local pet culture in Zagreb, and also a current exhibition by a contemporary artist. And of course, she will introduce the other speakers as well. So Gordana, can't wait to hear your stories.
Thank you, Femke, very much. Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. Thank you also for this opportunity to share with you a segment of our museum practice. I'm very happy to be joined today by 2 people. So my director is with me, Ms. Zvjezdana Antos, a museum advisor She will do the introduction to our museum, as well as by my dear associate, Suzana Marjanic, who was kind enough to agree to do the closing words for this presentation. Now I remembered it would be a good thing to share my screen so you can see the presentation. So yeah, hopefully you can see everything. Oops. We have to go back. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. So without any further ado, Zvjezdana, if you may.
Hello to everybody, and we are honored that we can share our experience from Ethnographic Museum in Zagreb. We are actually a museum which is 105 years old. And in our collections, we have national collections, but also European cultures and non-European cultures, what means world cultures collection. So our issue is actually to deal with cultures and in some new, we can say, museological approach and changing of the museum and transformation. We would like to be more inclusive and open participatory practices in the museum, what means that in the idea to bring new visitors in our places and to put objects and stories about objects and people in focus. Actually, we started thinking about contemporary collecting and which items are important for our culture, what kind of items actually we have to keep in our collections. So this issue actually starting when we personally started working in a project which led Amsterdam City Museum. It was from 2008 to 2010, and the project was Entrepreneurial Cultures in European Cities, which bring together 8 cities of museums, actually, city museums and 2 ethnographic museums, and we were one of them. And this topic actually, we are talking about 2008 and 2010. So this topic actually bring curators, museum directors together that about what we will collect for tomorrow, what kind of objects from contemporary culture. So, you know, development of COMCOL and all other ICOM committees, and that this topic was really very important for our future. So on this point, actually, we had so many problems, of course, because we always had a different opinion among curators. So it was old school and new school, and this kind of transformation actually went very slow in our museum. But what was good that through temporary exhibitions, actually we opened a new space for contemporary collecting. Nowadays we can say that we have one very nice collection of the textile. So this is actually textile from contemporary culture from 50s to nowadays. It is not only designer, it is actually kind of objects which somehow dedicated to some decade, for example, 60s, 50s. So there are so many objects which actually brings memories of this part of life to people. And another thing is that during some temporary exhibitions, always we are open to collect some new objects to our collections in the museum. So the one of them is, of course, that now we have exhibition actually, which is with long duration. So it is exhibition about 2 years, which is now exhibited in our museum, and it is about intimate spaces of everyday life. And this exhibition is done all the time. In one part, we problematize contemporary culture with artists. And through artistic language, actually, we can tell a lot about everybody, about everyday life and about everyday culture. Also we discussed about some difficult topics like is violence in home and trafficking and so many other topics which are not very often which we presented actually in the museum, and also about migrants, about life of migrants, about their stories. So one of the important topic now is actually about our pets, because pets are really, as you mentioned, a really important part of our everyday lives. I personally also have a pet, and this picture is my pet, my Mia dog, and I love to have a pet. So, but we found actually Gordana idea was that she actually told me that she would like to exhibit as a part of exhibition to include artist Milenkovic, and to tell more about pets, but not only about dogs, also about another kind of pets which we have in our homes usually. And then she also mentioned that she would like to make a film, ethnographic film about his life and about his story about pets. Why pets are important actually in his life and why they're presented in the exhibition. So on that point, we opened completely a new question about collecting again, because Gordana, during his research and working on first exhibition in our museum, which was a couple of years ago, she actually opened this topic as a new topic, actually in Croatia, and it was about pets culture, but also she opened the topic about what items from this pets culture we can collect as a museum. So problem was that I was not the museum director, so I was curator. I am here working 30 years as a museum advisor, so I have long memory. And but it was a problem that actually most of colleagues did disagree that we have to make some small collection after this exhibition. So I think now is the moment, because of the reaction of the people. People would like to bring their objects, their memories. So this exhibition with these artists about pets culture, actually it completely open a new topic and new points of possibilities for collecting. So I think that very soon, actually, we will get objects for new collection, and that it will be very interesting that we can do this participatory and that we can really have and include it in our huge collection. So this is actually small introduction about collecting, about our museum, and also about problems, because I know that many museums also have the same problems, and the problem is about opinion of staff, opinion of everything. But now we are working also new collection policy, and in this new collection policy, we will be more open for contemporary collecting, what is future, of course, of the museum. So I would like to give a word now to Gordana, who will tell you actually about his projects and about really exciting work, and all these interviews and working with people actually, and in the end presented it for the exhibition. It was really interesting and really huge work which she done.
Thank you, Zvjezdana, so much. I hope that you can all hear me and that you can see our presentation. Let me just say in the very beginning that this is not going to be a classical paper presentation. This is going to be more of a cut into a decade-long work related to pet culture, research, interpretation, presentation, and collecting issues, as Zvjezdana said, at the Ethnographic Museum in Zagreb, where I work and live. This is our museum, as you can presume. So if you agree, I'd like to start with a very short trailer to a documentary, actually 5 documentaries that were done for 5 stories about pets and their people in Zagreb nowadays. These documentaries were done as a part of a research for the exhibition that I will be referring to throughout this talk, so I think it's good to start with this.
Pa ja recimo bih rekao da zmije nisu klasični kućni ljubimci. Većina ljudi kad se kaže kućni ljubimac, ona ima u glavi nekako, ne znam, psa ili mačku, nekakvu životinju s kojom ima puno više interakcije.
Tango je potpuno neodvojiv dio mog života.
S mačkama imam jedan poseban odnos i imam jedan poseban klik. Ovo je moj mačak, ali stvarno moj mačak.
Grga je afrička siva papiga, podrijetlom iz Liberije. Mi kad se vratimo u kući s posla, on mora biti uključen u sve događaje u kući.
Mari je moja vlastita kockavica.
Nama Grga zapravo nije uopće kućni ljubimac, on je naš član obitelji.
Sorry for the wait. I wanted to wait for this book in the end. So a memorable phrase from this documentary, as Ivana says, Grga is not our pet, he's a member of our family. So maybe to introduce us to this topic, let's start from the very definition. According to a British historian, Keith Thomas, pets are simply seen as animals that live inside the house, have a name, and are not food. However, to anybody who ever had a pet or has a pet, they are so much more. We celebrate their birthdays, we mourn their deaths, they dictate our everyday busy schedules and our holidays. Sometimes we even sign their names on holiday cards. According to the newest surveys done in the USA, 70% of pet guardians do exactly that, while 70% include their pets into their family portraits or holiday portraits. So talking about portraits, I wanted to show you this picture to the left. This photo belongs to the photo documentation of our neighboring museum, the Museum of Arts and Crafts. It was taken in the 1930s, and I put it here. I decided to put it here because I think it represents the definition of a pet really well. Obviously, here we have a house environment, we have a house dog, and we have a homeowner who's wearing a robe or a dressing gown, something that we would wear only at home. On top of that, the title of this photo is Mikša Stepanini, who was one of our very famous theater actors of the time, so in the 30s. So Mikša Stepanini teaches his medo, his bear, how to behave. Once again, Mikša Stepanini teaches his bear how to behave. In the middle up, you can see a small photo. The reason why it's so small is because it was taken as a field photo by myself, so on my mobile phone. It was taken in Rijeka, on the 1st of November, also known as the All Saints Day. So many people, even in Croatia, don't know about Rijeka's pet cemetery. Rijeka is a port city in the northern Adriatic. And of course, this is its pet cemetery alongside Paris and London. This is considered to be one of the oldest pet cemetery in Europe, if not the world also. We don't know the exact year when it was established. However, we do know that it happened in the late 19th century with the local hunters just taking this no man's piece of land at that time as just a place to bury their hounds. And soon they were joined by the citizens of Rijeka, later on even citizens people from Italy, which is very close to Rijeka, and from Germany, when people would, for example, come for the holidays, summer holidays. So although this cemetery is not in function, so it's not opened, and it hasn't been for maybe 20 years or so, still people come and they adorn the pets' graves in exactly the same manner as they would do with the graves of their human family members. So same kind of flowers, same candles. And of course, cautiously, we can take this as an example of kinship being transferred to another species. Going back to modern times, here we have a British short-haired cat saying to his or her owner, pet guardian, pet parent, hey, it's time for a break. This is actually a photo that came to us to our Facebook account, Facebook page during the pandemic times, when we mostly communicated our programs and our content probably like everybody else via social media. So within a project that was called a couch museum, we asked our subscribers, our users, to send us photos and to tell us stories about how they were spending their lockdown time with their pets. Because this was really a unique period of history that taught us not only how much we needed other people, other humans, but also how much we needed other animals, nature itself. And maybe the best proof to this is the fact that during the pandemic years, Zagreb City Animal Shelter, I know that for a fact, was completely left out of animals. It was completely out of animals, which never happened before in history nor afterwards. Unfortunately, some people went back to the same practice of leaving their pets, especially before going to the summer vacation, just expecting that the pet will be in the neighborhood when they come back. I personally thought that we surpassed this practice, however, obviously we haven't. So when it comes to the statistics, the scale of pets today is such that every second household in the West has at least one animal. 10 years ago, the estimated number of households just in Europe was 75 million, so households with pets. And in only 10 years, that number went up to 166 million of households with pets in Europe, which leaves us today with 352 million of pets in Europe, out of which, if I remember correctly, if I have the right info, 22.6 million only in the Netherlands. So obviously we are not talking about subculture anymore. We are talking about a mainstream, a local community based on a shared lifestyle. When talking about lifestyle, the photos that you can see here are just two of many that we took as a part of our research for the exhibition in 2017. So this was taken in the early 2017. These were just people that we encountered in the street, downtown Zagreb, so the very heart of the city, that told us their stories and were kind enough to pose with their pets. And what amazed me actually was how similar these photos were to the ones that I saw at the Amsterdam Museum just last October, when I went there for the ICOM conference, which then led to this talk as well. So in the part of the exhibition which is called Collecting the City, as many of you know better than me. There is also a section titled, help me, Van wie is de binnenstand? Pardon my Dutch. The Google says that it means who does the city center belong to? So we're going to trust Google. Obviously, yes, the pets are also a part of the city center. And this actually is the very reason to the fact that compared to traditional ethnological topics, this urban phenomenon wasn't really something that our ethnologists were interested in. So this topic is falling far behind compared to other typical ethnographic research done in the past, for example, on our relationship with domestic cats. This photo here belongs to our own photo documentation, and it's a rare example of a dog being photographed with its family. The photo was taken also in the 30s, but obviously not in Zagreb like the first one, but in the rural area of eastern Croatia. And obviously this mom here wanted to include the dog into the portrait. We are not sure why. Maybe it was just a way she wanted to show her affection, or maybe she didn't even know that a dog would be included, so she just wanted to calm the dog down. But obviously we are not talking about a pet here, because this is a dog that lives outside. It's chained, and his primarily function is to guard the household. So despite this very rich and long history when it comes to cats and dogs prehistory, there is no systematic data and there is no systematic collecting. And this minimum of scientific research is reflected then in minimal museum representation. So in a way, we can talk here about the underrepresented groups of citizens after all. For the citizens of Zagreb and their guests, something changed 10 years ago in 2015, as you can see in this timeline of a tenure, as I called it, because it's been 10 years since we've been involved in these topics in one way or the other. In 2015, somebody had an idea, and that somebody was our former director, Ms. Gordana Viljetic, who decided to open our museum as the first pet-friendly museum in Croatia, which was, of course, a strategic move in marketing and audience development more than anything else. But it did bring us a lot of media attention and even attention from the local politicians. In this picture, our former mayor is feeding his dog, Rudi, the first dog of Zagreb. The game changer, however, for us, at least in my opinion, is that we didn't stay only at that. Throughout the year and a half afterwards, we were actively developing this pet-friendly concept through many collaborations with the local NGOs, experts from different areas of expertise, involved individuals. Here on this slide, this is just one lecture within a whole cycle of lectures done by 7 of 9, the Animal Protection Society. We didn't only have programs for adults, we also had workshops for children and family-oriented programs. Some of the topics that we were talking about were, for example, what does a pet need to be happy, how to approach a dog, why do cats have whiskers, pet therapy in Alzheimer's disease, psychological well-being and benefits of having a pet, etc. There were many of them. And all these collaboration actually led to our museum being seen as a safe place to discuss animal-related topics, whether from the perspective, animal rights perspective, or animal welfare perspective, which was then also a great stepping stone for the Animals and Humans exhibition, which was opened in April 2017, co-authored by my dear colleagues Željko Petrović-Osmak and Kroatische, myself included. And later it was referred to as the first cultural animalistics exhibition in the region. In this slide, a photo of a part of the exhibition that was dedicated to pets, more equal than others, as you can see on the wall. Actually, this topic held at least 1/4 of the whole exhibition space, which was an effort in itself, and you will soon understand why. So academic prejudice about this topic was the least of our worries at the time, because we had 3 main challenges to deal with, very practical ones. First one was terminology issues in Croatian as well as in English. So what terms to use? Do we use pets, house animals, companion animals? If companion animals, whose companions are they? Does it even matter, since legally they're seen as our property, as something that we own, we are their owners? Then there was a lack of sources and literature in English as well as in Croatian, for all the reasons that I already mentioned. And for every curator, how to present something when there is no material to do it with. So on this slide, you're able to see the only 3 items from our holdings that could be somewhat related to pets, more to cats and dogs, seen as domestic, very easily replaceable animals. Starting from the top, a tobacco pouch made out of cat skin, coming from Istria, late 19th century. Then you see a bagpipe-like instrument called the dude from central Croatia, early 20th century, you can guess now, made out of dog skin. And also maybe something that you recognize yourself, a collar, a dog collar, but not just any kind. This is the working dog collar from Vojvodina to today's Serbia, late 19th century. And as you can see, this collar has a piece of wood attached to it. And the function of this wood actually, as you may presume, is to hit the dog against its chest in case he or she decided to run away from the herd or the flock the dog was supposed to be guarding. So how did we deal with all of these issues? By turning to our local community, of course. We researched through interviews for oral histories. We also documented a lot by film and photography. We co-created not only within the exhibition itself, but also around the exhibition in additional programming. And we collaborated with our colleagues from mostly city museums, but also other museums around Croatia. And with the help of 5 biggest institutions, museum institutions in Zagreb, we were able to gather only a handful of items that could be somewhat related to this topic, which says a lot about the state of our holdings in itself. The photos here were taken during a field research in Trešnjevka, Zagreb's neighborhood. I decided to put in the first one just as a reminder of our fellow senior citizens, many of whom live only with their pet, and that pet becoming then the only source of comfort and emotional support. And the other one, beware of the dog plate, something that you can see around Zagreb in Croatia a lot. Fascinates me is how the evolution of this beware of the dog plate actually follows the evolution of our relationship. I thought it was a good example, so I decided to include it in this presentation. So from the ancient Kave Kanem, be afraid of the dog, to something funny like my house, my rules. The first picture was taken in Varena in Italy last summer. Obviously, it's a reinterpretation of Pompeii's Kave Kanem. And the other one was actually taken in my own house, just not under my rules, under the rules of my beloved, now late English Cocker Spaniel, Luna. One of our biggest collaborations was the one with, as I already mentioned, Zagreb City Animal Shelter. These are some photos from the field research, but to anybody who ever entered an animal shelter, you know the feeling. I don't even want to, I won't even try to explain the feeling. However, this collaboration led to another project that was called Think and Adopt, which actually was a photo exhibition, also accompanied by a 3-day long event that was opened and held in September of 2017, so several months after the opening of the leading exhibition. It was quite important because it showed how people from different backgrounds can come together for a good cause and in the museum, even if you have no budget for it at all. This wasn't a planned program, and really people came in voluntarily and they chipped in, they did their part without charging. We recycled a lot of material. And we ended up with a photo here, the last photo that on this slide, that is actually one of my favorite photos of all time taken in our museum. So obviously 2 gentlemen having a good time, one belonging to bikers subculture, the other one to hipsters subculture. So worlds coming together for a good cause in the museum. When it comes to the exhibition outcomes, after Zagreb, we toured the region with 6 residences and 7 displays altogether. We went to 3 museums in Croatia, and we also went to Skopje in Macedonia, Belgrade in Serbia, and Nova Gorica on the border of Slovenia and Italy. It all stopped, unfortunately, in March of 2020, because as soon as we opened our exhibition in Pula, in Istria, the town went in lockdown the next day. So we communicated this exhibition mostly via social media. As one of the outcomes, we noticed a growing interest in animalistic topics when it comes to our partner institutions. We were also able to share and to publish our own experiences and research, which is always a good thing. And this talk being one of the proofs to that, although it's happening several years after. We got a lot of media attention, which then led to public recognition and branding, and maybe the best kind of branding there is, because it came from the outside in. As we all know, it's not what you say you are, it's what they say you are. And we also got a lot of opportunities for new projects. But before I go to those, I would just like to take this moment and to introduce you to this photo, which is actually my favorite photo of the exhibition. It's still hanging in my office. The photo was taken in 1935 by our famous photographer of the era, Đuro Janeković, and the model in the photo is Miss Melania Levy, a trendsetter in Zagreb of that time. She's walking here with her greyhound. It is believed that they are on their way to the international dog show that was held downtown Zagreb, so in 1935, which is a proof of how Zagreb really was following the European trends in technology. Not only there was this exhibition, but there was also a competition within that exhibition called A Lady and Her Dog, which was dedicated to the trend of the era of young women having these very large breeds of dogs as pets. And then this was seen and served as a sign of their emancipation. Just some of the publications and international film festivals that we participated at with this exhibition, all available in English as well. And now going back to our collaborations, I just have to briefly mention one recent and one ongoing project, both led by the Institute of Ethnology and Folklore Research. The first one called Animal that was on until 2024, so until the last year, and the one called Bestia that is on until 2028. So both interdisciplinary and both founded by Croatian Science Foundation. Since Suzana was the leading researcher on the first one, I'm sure she also participates in the second one, as well as several other colleagues from the museum. I'm sure Suzana will tell us more about it later. And now I'm very happy to present to you our current exhibition, an art exhibition done by our very prominent artist, Bane Milenkovic, as a part of the, as Zvjezdana already mentioned, Intimate Spaces of Everyday Life project. So this is the first time that Bane is showing his work, is presenting his work to the audience of the Ethnographic Museum, where we do not approach his work as art historians, but as cultural anthropologists. So what does that mean? It means that we are trying to view his artwork through lenses or through the prism of everyday life and housing culture, since this is the main topic of the leading project. As one of the main research methods, interview was chosen, and the interview was done in the artist's studio, also his home, which he shares at this moment with 4 corgis. In his own words, the bond is such that it shouldn't even be discussed. I'm in love. So this is exactly what we are trying to research, this connection that we have with pets in our everyday life. I'm hoping that we'll have enough time to see the interview, because it lasts only, it's only 11 minutes long. Here are just some of the photos from the exhibition opening. As you can see, we didn't have humans at the exhibition opening, but also dogs as well. If you're familiar with her, and if you look closer, you might see Her Excellency Charlotte van Baak. She's the ambassador of the Netherlands in Croatia. It's just a coincidence, but I couldn't not mention this. And to wrap this up, let's just say that the issue of professional recognition of this topic, as Femke and Zvjezdana already told us, so the recognition of this topic within our field, or fields, ethnology and cultural anthropology, still lingers, less in theory and more in practice. The lingering question being to collect or not to collect. So obviously we need to collect to document, to prevent, and to respond, to document a way of life for the future, which falls right into the mission and vision of our museum, to prevent musicologically valuable material from further deterioration, and to respond to communities' needs. They obviously want us to collect. In the previous slide, you might see some of the items that were offered to us, because people do want us to have those items, those objects that tell stories about their unique relationship with their pets. So if we want to respond, we have to react. Not without some obstacles along the way. The first one being insecurity. Insecurity and let somebody else do it first mentality. So if it works, we'll do it too. Obviously, we are open to contemporary collecting, but to a certain limit, not really crossing the boundary of traditional collecting, which then leads us to our current status, and that is in waiting. We are still waiting, and we are about to release a new collecting policy document. So we are hoping for some changes and some guidelines within this new collecting policy document that should be issued very soon. Why do I think we need a collection? Why am I not happy with just researching? We need a collection to be able to show developmental changes in this phenomenon that was never systematically researched before. And we need it to be able to read the individual context in comparison with other objects within a group. As museum people, and happy International Museum Day, by the way, as museum people, we all know that collections are the heart of the museum, that collections are what gives status to the idea, to the ideas, which is very important, maybe crucial in this sense, and also a way through which a museum fulfills its social role. These are not my thesis. These are the words of people who dedicated their lives and their careers to museology. With the experience I have, I can only agree. So thank you for your time and attention. If you are around Zagreb in the next couple of weeks, please come see the exhibition. Lola here, who's our in-house museum dog, she's around almost every day, says please come, and hello as well. And I am very happy to be able to have Suzana today with us. Suzana is a research advisor from the Institute of Ethnology and Folklore Research. We did a lot of work together. So Suzana, if you're ready, the screen is yours.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Gordana. I will try to share my presentation. So is it visible now?
Not yet. Okay.
And now? Yeah.
It's good now.
Okay.
Just yeah.
It's okay. Thank you. Thank you. So at Gordana's suggestion, I would like to offer some concluding thoughts on how the exhibition of animals and people has influenced both theory and practice here in Croatia. As Gordana pointed out, the exhibition of animals and people was a significant ethnozoological and anthrozoological exhibition. Among other topics, it addressed the issues of animal rights and the presence of urban animals in urban environments. These topics position the exhibition is particularly relevant in 2 or 3 key areas: ethnozoology and anthrozoology, as well as critical animal studies. So the ethnozoological part of the exhibition explored the role of animals in Croatian ethno-tradition, and much of this was based on articles published in the collection of Folk Life and Customs of the South Slavs, and it is worth emphasizing that the very first article ever published in this collection falls under ethnozoology, and that article written by Dragutin Hirc entitled "What Our People Say About Some Animals," published in 1869. So it can be concluded that ethnology in Croatia originated from an ethnozoological perspective. So by doing so, Gordana and her colleagues addressed an important cultural anthropological theme, one that has rarely been comprehensively studied or presented in museums here in Croatia, despite its significant social relevance. As Nikola Viskovic, the founder of animal studies in Croatia, points out, human culture has developed in close connection with animal culture, evident in historical examples such as the use of donkeys alongside human slaves in building the Egyptian pyramids and the employment of animals in warfare nowadays. In her chapter titled Fetishism and Activism, Gordana pointed out that the prevalence of pets, modern domestic animals, in the West is remarkable. Nearly every second household owns at least one pet. In this context, the pet becomes both a consumer of specialized products and services and at the same time an object within the market of supply and demand. The exhibition and its catalogue were not simply a list of displayed items. Instead, they were carefully curated and shaped into a standalone monograph. This narrative expanded beyond objects and text to include live performances as well. 2 performances were featured as part of the accompanying events. First, Relocation of People and Animals, and the second one, Skole, created and performed by Irena Bočkaj and Roko Nakic. At the heart of their performance was a powerful symbol, the hoof or the foot, as an archetype of movement and relocation. The piece unfolded through shifting scenes that alternated between cultural and natural landscape, or thinking. Gordana organized as well a program called Film Thursday, a city on four legs at Ethnographic Museum in Zagreb, and this program based on her research was developed in the period following the declaration of the COVID-19 epidemic in Croatia. In May 2020, the Ethnographic Museum, Croatia's first officially pet-friendly museum, launched a series of documentary screening, and these films focused on the relationship between humans or caregivers and their pets or companion animals, and were originally produced for the museum's 2017 exhibition of animals and people. At the same time, much like the Croatian translation of John Danier's influential book Speciesism, published in 2004, the exhibition helped introduce the term companion animals into the Croatian cultural and academic context, and this term was offered as an alternative to the more common pet, which many theorists in critical animal studies argue is a speciesist label. The exhibition also highlighted the issue of animal rights by drawing attention to our first animal rights association, Animal Friends Croatia, which warns about the livestock industry's impact on the climate. In 2017, only activists from Animal Friends Croatia, as well as the exhibition, had spoken about this critical issue in Croatia. And this made it our first exhibition to incorporate animal rights alongside ethnozoology and anthrozoology. Furthermore, as detailed in the exhibition monograph of Animals and People, the exhibition critically examined the subsidies provided to the meat, dairy, and egg industries. It revealed that state funds not only support the agricultural sector feeding the meat industry, but also back the pharmaceutical industry producing antibiotics and growth hormones for farmed animals, as well as the chemical industry supplying vast quantities of herbicide, pesticide, and fertilizers. In short, the exhibition raised some very important questions around zooethics, especially for the public here in Croatia, and it encouraged people to think more deeply about animals and their rights. To conclude, I would like to leave you with an example of what's happening right now, something that reflects the urgency of these ethical concerns. Take the case of the loggerhead sea turtle. We are living in an era that some call the Anthropocene, others the Capitalocene, and some even refer to it as the Wastocene, because of the enormous amount of waste we generate. Tragically, loggerhead turtles are often victims of this so-called waste culture. They mistake plastic bags for jellyfish, which are the natural prey, and many of them die as a result. Thus, regarding this animal issue and many other zoological problems, these extraordinary exhibitions have warned us. Whatever we choose to call this epoch, its devastating consequences are clearly visible. The Chinese province of Hanyuan, known as the world capital of pears, has seen a drastic decline in its bee population due to the extensive use of pesticide. As documented in the 2011 film Silence of the Bees, workers now artificially pollinate fruit trees by carefully transferring pollen from male to female flowers. Due to the fact that we are in the epoch of the sixth extinction, as stated by Elizabeth Colbert, it is important that museums deal with the present with all earthlings, as stated by Sean Monson, because soon it may happen that all animals and plants will be seen only as documents, either visually in documentary films or as exhibits in museums. Therefore, the Ethnographic Museum in Zagreb, as the first pet-friendly museum in Croatia, must have a continuation of the exhibition on animals and people. Since 2017, the situation has unfortunately worsened drastically. Capitalocene is in a full swing. Convention on Biological Diversity concluded that every day up to 150 species are lost. That could be as much as 10% a decade. So it is a remarkable.
Anyway, and I actually have some questions. I was just wondering, a very obvious one, but are you still a pet-friendly museum now, 10 years later, Gordana?
We are more of a pet-friendly museum than ever, because not only do we still have visitors, especially during the tourist season, because Zagreb is full of tourists during June and August, at least. But also we started this practice actually several years ago to bring our own pets to work, which I think is beneficial for all of us, pets as well as people who work at the museum, not only their guardians. Unfortunately, I lost my dog last year, so and she was pretty ill before that, so I didn't do much of that. But people, at least we have at least one dog, mostly their dogs, because dogs are easy to bring along to work. At least one dog per day at the museum. The main building or the storage where we are right now, we also have another location now. So,
and did I see in your presentation that you also really have an in-house museum dog?
Yeah, I call her that. That's our Lola, and this is exactly connected, related to what I was saying. This is our colleague's dog, and he brings her to work every day. So whether she's in the main building or the storage, but she's with us at all times.
It's such a wonderful idea that colleagues can bring their dogs to work. But I was just realizing that I think in most of the museums I've worked, I don't think we were even allowed to take a bunch of flowers into the museum, let alone an animal. How do your conservation colleagues feel? And are there ever any discussions about, I don't know, germs or whatever?
For some reason, maybe because we dealt with all of this so many years ago, this practice was introduced and nobody's saying anything about it in a negative way. I think we all feel so much better when we have a dog around, a pet around. It really, I mean, I think we benefit, both dogs and us, we both benefit from it. Nobody has, maybe people don't say, but I haven't heard anybody having a problem with it. If it's a storage, it's this area where we have offices, obviously. In October, we are opening another exhibition that is in a way related to this one, and Suzana here is associate as well. My colleague Željko Petrović-Osmak is opening an exhibition that will be on the topic of Earth itself, planet Earth. So I think that will also give us some space to discuss this more broadly.
I think it's very strong how this has been in your program for 10 years. And so it's very consistent and not a one-off PR stunt or whatever.
It started like that.
It started
but
like
then
that,
it developed throughout the years, and it's still developing, and I'm hoping it will carry on like that. So I think that was actually the game changer, because we could stop, and many other museums, as far as I know, 8 museums in Croatia opened their doors to visitors with pets so far after us. 8, if I'm not mistaken.
I just learned yesterday, actually, that one of our museums in Holland, the museum I used to work, Museum Boijmans from Beuningen in Rotterdam, has actually last year admitted pets in the museum for a sort of one-off. But it's interesting. How would you advise Dutch museums to incorporate, well, pet culture, for instance?
I wouldn't dare to advise the Dutch museums anything. As I said when we talked before this, I am so honored to be here today, because just today we had our 3 colleagues presenting their experience when they were on Erasmus in the Netherlands, and we always see us as the perfect example when it comes to the museums. So I'm so flattered that you find this topic and our practical experience interesting. So, you know, if you want to do it, just do it. It's as simple as that.
Well, yeah, but I think what I found interesting as well about your presentation and when we met before last year is it is, of course, a very familiar challenge for museums how to present a subject with no material. And you can just start somewhere. Yeah, how would you advise us to start in that respect?
Well, that was, as I said, that's probably a nightmare of every curator. It would be easy just to, you know, go to a pet store, they're all around, and bring everything to the museum. But I didn't want to do that since I was in, each one of us dealt with certain subtopics within this topic. So I was obviously in charge to deal with this. Because that would be easy, you know, and why would I do this? That we can just go to the pet store and see for ourselves. So I really wanted to dig into this, and therefore I engaged everybody throughout the city. And, you know, it was interesting how colleagues reacted because, you are interested in pets, and okay, this is something that we are so familiar with. But then again, what do we have in our holdings? Nothing or a little bit of something. So as I said, with the help of all of our colleagues, we were able to gather just a handful of items that can somewhat relate to this topic. But I think the items painted this picture really well, you know. So we started from the ancient Egypt with the help of our colleagues from the Archaeological Museum, all the way to some items from the late 19th century from the Museum of Arts and Crafts, which were very interesting to see how people had no idea and still don't have the idea how a simple thing like an aquarium, when they're talking about that typical bowl, how much harm that does to a fish that's inside. So, you know, of course, they didn't know that 100 years ago, but today, how come we are still doing it? It's the worst thing that you can do to a fish.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very relevant issues. Yeah. I was thinking, but there's not really any questions in the chat, I don't think. I think I've asked them all. And I know that people are leaving now because it's after 5 as well here, and
dinner time. Time to go for dinner.
So I think what we'll do is we'll share the video on our website and on a link to it in the social media. And I just really want to thank you so much on behalf of my colleagues here. It's such an interesting subject, and the way you deal with it so consistently and scientifically is very inspiring. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I'm from Netherlands. And yeah, until another time.
Yeah, let's meet again.
Maybe I'm from Croatia.
Yeah, who knows? That would be wonderful. Thank you so much, Gordana and
Bye.
Suzana.
See you in Dubai, I presume.
Bye.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Suzana. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.